Ben in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Hi.
Right.
Good. I'd just like to say this is a really awesome show, and I'm an atheist, and I live in North Carolina, and you guys are just doing a really great job.
Thanks,
Keep
Ben.
up the good work.
Okay. So
My question was about a book by a man named Dennis R. MacDonald, and it's called the Homeric Epics and the Gospel of Mark.
Okay.
okay.
And it kind of talks about the parallels between the Odyssey, like Odysseus in the Odyssey, and Jesus in the Gospel of Mark. Like he took, in order to convey the message of Jesus from a Jewish perspective to a Greek audience, he's kind of using the Odyssey as a way to kind of fill in the blanks of what we know about Jesus, what little we know.
Okay. What would you say is the implication of that? I mean, what...
Well, I mean, when you look at certain aspects of Greek mythology, you can see it in some of the Gospels. Like, for example, Pericles, when he dies, no one can find his body.
Okay.
He's burned up.
All right. But okay. There's something in literature called a typology. So you have these typological tales, and essentially, you can think of them as tropes. Are you familiar with the website about TV Tropes?
.org, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not. No.
Okay.
You should check it out sometime.
Yeah. So that's basically what these are, almost like tropes from ancient literature. And so you find the same kinds of stories over and over in some of the ancient literature. They're just themes that people go with. They were popular at the time. And you find the same things happening here, like, in the TV tropes.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not sure what your point is on that.
Well, there's a source that the historians in the New Testament use called Q, which I think
Yes.
is lost.
Yes.
And Dennis R. MacDonald is basically using the Odyssey and kind of other Greek mythology to kind of show like what Q is.
I'm really wary of people who draw these kind of parallels with each other,
Right.
because basically you can pull to, like, if you've got the mindset to come up with connections between things, you can come up with connections even if they weren't intentional between lots and lots of things. I don't know if you've
Right.
ever seen, like, Jon Stewart do his parody of Glenn Beck, where he stands in front of a board and draws little lines all over the place to things that seem similar. But I mean, I've heard these. Basically, we're talking about a conspiracy where
Right.
where the Christian religion was in some way deliberately developed to keep people in line somehow.
No,
And-
I'm not really coming from it.
Okay.
Like that. I mean, I think Jesus existed. I mean,
All right.
most historians do.
Well
I'm
then,
just saying-
why is the parallel to Greek mythology interesting to you?
Because it'd be a way to solve the kind of unknown question of Q.
Oh,
That's what I was just asking.
I mean, I guess that's interesting to literary scholars and historical scholars. I personally find none of it convincing as real stories, and so I don't have as much interest in that
guess
sort of.
I don't understand
coming up with a connection like that.
I don't understand why you think it points to some, I guess, revelation about Q.
Well, I mean, I was just wondering if you guys had heard about it.
I haven't read the book, so I don't know. But
Okay, it's
I mean,
pretty big. It's pretty thick.
Yeah, I mean, I've read lots of other writers who've made similar claims about, well, there's this astonishing similarity between some of these other myths, and sometimes they draw really faulty conclusions based on that.
Right.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying he was invented. I'm just saying that. He existed. He's an actual person history.
Yeah.
Who was?
I'm just saying as a way to solve
Okay.
kind of why are there certain stories in certain Gospels and not in others?
Well, I think that, I mean, if you look at what the Gospel writers were trying to do, each of them had a specific audience they were addressing. And so
Right.
they were telling a story to a specific audience in a way that they thought, that this story would resonate with that audience.
Right, like in Matthew, for example, it's almost like Jesus is like the new Moses. There's he goes to Egypt and a
Yeah.
king puts a hit out on him.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the work of Bart Ehrman?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on the kind of beef between Bart Ehrman and Richard Carrier?
Which Carrier?
Yeah, Richard Carrier, sorry.
Well, I know Richard Carrier, and I have a lot of respect for his research. I also know a bit about Bart Ehrman, having read some of his work, and I think that as a scholar, Bart Ehrman is generally pretty reliable, and I'm trying to remember the particular dust-up that you're talking about. Basically, Ehrman, I think, takes the view that Jesus probably was an historical figure, and Carrier, of course, is a mythicist, and he can justify that, I think, pretty solidly with some of the stuff that he's done. So I guess what's your point on asking this question here?
There was like a recent debate online over a book that Bart Ehrman wrote called "Did Jesus Exist?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
in which he kind of put it out like almost people saying there's a lot that we don't know about him as kind of like a conspiracy. But I mean, it's true. I mean, there's a lot we don't know about him.
Yeah,
And a
I
lot of
mean,
it is
I prefer to avoid the historicity argument altogether by basically saying that Jesus, to the extent that he existed, is basically Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah.
He's loosely based on a true character, but if all you knew was the story of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, you would not be in a position to say anything about the real particulars of his life and what about that comic book was true or false.
Right.
So, I mean, that's pretty much my take on the whole situation. I think it's of mild interest that some people think that he might not have existed at all, and I think it's hard to settle big historical questions like that, and I know Bart Ehrman is very satisfied that Jesus was real.
Yeah. I guess one of the things, I heard him on a podcast many years ago, and he was asked specifically about the mythicist position, and he made a claim that no reputable scholars actually accept the mythicist position, and that's not true.
Yeah.
So
Right.
there are some reputable scholars who believe that Jesus was a myth.
Right. I mean, it's not a clear and cut case, is what I'm trying to say.
But
Yeah.
I think
we don't
we're
know a
gonna.
lot about it.
And I apologize. I don't know very much about this dust up between the two of them. I read some stuff, but it's been probably over a year ago that I actually read some stuff about the argument. It's not that recent.
Actually, I think we're going to move on to some other callers.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.